we haven't seen a lot of since the start of this pandemic? Parades. For the most part, they've gone the way of the large wedding or the public pool. Unless you're counting downtown Boise Trump rallies. For the third time in recent months, supporters of President Trump are going to be driving through downtown in a parade of sorts as a part of a Trump cruise rally. Past renditions, they featured hundreds of cars with people waving flags and chanting as they travel the downtown corridor. And while these events are meant to simply show support for the re-election of President Trump, there have been incidents around the country during these cruise rallies. In Boise, those have come in reports of racial slurs being shouted at counter-protesters and escalating tensions. Well, fortunately, no real incidents have happened during one of these events in the City of Trees, and a group of community leaders hoping to keep it that way. They're asking counter-protest groups to please stay home to avoid conflicts. Joe Paris spoke with those leaders and Boise police ahead of tomorrow's event.
Don't go out and counter-protest. My message is to stay home.
Boise Rabbi Dan Fink took to Facebook on Thursday to encourage community members to not counter-protest a Trump cruise rally scheduled for Saturday. The idea, to avoid potential conflicts.
I think that sometimes there's a fear that, that if you don't get out there and get in people's faces, it's cowardly. I think just the opposite is the truth, that to stay home is a sign of strength.
Rabbi Fink says some of the responses to his Facebook post are very telling of his point.
Some of the response was pretty verbally violent, which I wrote, this only makes the case for what I said before, which is, if your response to my suggestion that folks stay home, is to call me and others all kinds of names, it's all the more reason that folks should stay home.
Although previous Trump cruise rallies in Boise have been almost entirely peaceful, there have been reports of people in the parade of cars screaming racial slurs and taunts, as well as messages about white supremacy at people on the streets. Counter-protesters at previous events also yelled insults at Trump supporters in the rally, creating some short verbal fights. To avoid any potential issues, community leaders like Philip Thompson, executive director of the Idaho Black History Museum, are echoing Rabbi Fink's message.
I don't know that at this time what would be gained by doing so. I mean, it's their right to protest, to demonstrate, to gather any way they feel the need, but it's also our right to exercise a bit of restraint, as the rabbi said, and we need not confront each and every person each and every time if they say something differing, especially when they're doing so hoping to elicit a response.
Boise Senator Cherie Buckner Webb says she understands there may be people who feel the need to counter-protest messages they disagree with, but she shares this message.
Making assumptions based on the symbols that we see and what's happened before. To date, I've never seen anything written about this coming cruise that denigrates or vilifies any particular population. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm going to hold it there. I'm not being naive, but I'm saying that's where I'm doing it. It is possible to have very, 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 very differing views and yet coexist. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt to a degree and say we are not going to incite, I would hope we would not incite violence that could show up.
Boise police says they are well aware of the event Saturday and the context of previous events like it. They hope all people will conduct themselves respectfully.
You can be uncivil in this country, and you have the right to do so, given to you. But we would hope that you don't exercise that right. We would hope that people have some respect and some civility. It certainly furthers your message when you're able to communicate in a civil manner, in my opinion, than when you're just shouting over the top of each other. That does not seem to accomplish much.
Rabbi Fink says his message is not to censor any community of their voice. He says it's about something much deeper.
Of course you have the same right to go out, but wisdom lies in not doing everything that you have the right to do every time you have the impulse to do it.
I reached out to the organizer for the rally tomorrow for comment on this story. He did not respond to a message immediately. Also, again, this is a traffic note Boise police want you to know about. There's expected to be a lot of cars, a lot of traffic in downtown Boise tomorrow afternoon, about 1 o'clock, 6 o'clock, maybe even later into the evening, Brian. So just be aware, they're expecting a lot of people.
Yeah, I've seen these before. There are a lot of cars that get involved in this. All right, thank you very much, Joe.